introduce myself. My name is Satrio. I'm from the Pro team. Here I will explain what the legislature is. The legislature is a deliberative body of government with the power to make laws. The legislature is known by several names, namely Parliament, Congress, and National Assembly. In a parliamentary system, the legislature is the highest body and directs the executive. In a presidential system, the legislature is an equal and independent branch of government from the executive. In addition to enacting laws, legislature usually also have the power to raise taxes and enforce budgetary and other expenditures. The legislature also sometimes write treaties and decides wars. I from the Pro team strongly agree that legislative members are prohibited from engaging in business or other profession because legislative members must prioritize and focus on their duties. Based on the Code of Ethics that has been listed in Chapter 2 of the Code of Ethics Article 2, the Indonesian Legislative Code of Ethics reads as follows. 1. Members in each of their actions must prioritize the interests of the nation and state rather than personal, individual, and group interests. 2. Members are responsible for carrying out the mandate of the people, carrying out their duties fairly, obeying the law, respecting the existence of the legislative body, and using the functions, duties, and authorities given to them, the interests and welfare of the people. 3. Members prioritize the use of domestic products. 4. Members must always maintain their dignity, honor, imaging, and credibility in carrying out their function, duties and authorities, as well as exercising the freedom to exercise their right of expression, religion, association, assembly, and to express their thoughts orally and in writing. Based on the Code of Ethics, Article 2, Paragraph 1, it is very clear that every act of legislative members must prioritize the interests of the nation and state rather than personal, individual, and group interests. So, a member of the legislature who has ability in other profession and who runs a business then don't get involved if your status is still a member of the legislature. Legislative members are required to prioritize the interests of the nation and state rather than personal, individual, and group interests. Then, in Article 2, Paragraph 2, it is explained that members of the legislature carry out the mandate of the people, carry out their duties fairly, obey the law, respect the existence of the legislative body, and use the function, duties, and authorities given to them for the interests and welfare of the people. So, legislators carry a very large mandate from the people. They must listen to the aspiration of the people and realize good policy for all the people. Well, if legislature are involved in other profession or businesses, they are afraid of making policies that will benefit them. person or a group. Basically, many members of the legislature have other professional abilities or business backgrounds. They leave their respective zones and becomes members of the legislature to contribute to the nation and state. But within the legislative body, they are required to prioritize their duties as members of the legislature and leave their previous jobs to avoid abuse of authority as members of the legislature to benefit themselves, someone, and certain groups. So, I, from the pro team, conclude that I strongly agree that legislative members are prohibited from engaging in the other profession or businesses because members are required to prioritize the interests of the nation and state over personal, individual, and group interests.
Okay, my name is Erick Firkhan. I'm from Contra team. Here, I will first explain what a member of the legislature is. Legislative members are institutions or council that have the duty and authority to make or formulate the existing constitution in a country. The legislature is also a legislator, which means that if this institution is run by the DPR, DPRD, and MPR. Here we will discuss the topic of this house will prohibit members of the legislature from being involved in other profession or business. I do not agree with the sentence which states that members of the legislature are not allowed to run other business. Yes, because in my opinion this is not a problem. According to the current data, there is also no prohibition for members of the legislature if they want to run a profession or business, as long as his profession or business has nothing to do with his authority and duties as a member of the legislature. In Indonesia, we also know that the prohibition for members of the legislature have also been regulated in Law Number 17 of 2014. Here it is explained that other state officials, judges in the judiciary, government employees, members of the Indonesian National Armed Force or State Police of the Republic of Indonesia, employees in state-owned enterprises, regional-owned enterprises, or other entities whose budget is sourced from the APBN or APBD. Structural official in private educational institution, public accountant, consultant, advocate or attorney, notary public, and other work related to the authority and duties of the DPR or provision DPRD or regency or municipal DPRD, as well as rank as member of the DPR, or provincial DPRD or regency or municipal DPRD. And this regulation regarding member of the legislature also already exists in law number 23 of 2014, article 134 and article 184 of the regional government law, which contains about 1. Members of the provincial DPRD are prohibited from holding their current position. 2. Members of the provincial DPRD are prohibited from working as structural official in educational institution, public accountant, consultant, advocate or lawyer, notaries, and other jobs related to the duties and authorities of the provincial DPRD as well as their right as member of the provincial DPRD. 3. Provincial DPRD members are prohibited from engaging in corruption, collusion, and nepotism. It also been said here, so we cannot arbitrarily want to limit all activities of members of the legislature. I'm emphasizing again, as long as the provision or business that a member of the legislature undertakes does not conflict with the law and the business does not carry the name of the position as a member of the legislature, I think this is not a problem. Thank you.
Okay, I from the protein strongly disagree with your statement that as long as the profession or business has nothing to do with its authority and duties as a member of the legislature, members of the legislature are allowed to engage with other profession or businesses. As I mentioned earlier, if legislators are allowed to engage in other profession or businesses, priority of legislature will be defeated, and it means they will not focus on their work as a member of the legislature. And worse, if legislators are involved in their business directly, they will make policies that benefit their business only, not good policies for many people. With that, I disagree. If members of the legislature are involved in other profession or business. Thank you.
Okay. Well, you said earlier that if member of the legislature run other business, it will have an impact on the members' lack of focus on their power as member of the legislature themselves, and also make policies that benefit themselves. Here, it seems that you do not understand the content of my argument. I underline that member of the legislature might carry out other professions or business, which will also be subject to strict laws or policies. For that, your opinion above cannot be justified, because of course later this role will be member of the legislature in carrying out their provision or business. So, if a member of the legislature want to run a provision or other business, with later being accompanied or set up, then of course this member of the legislature cannot be arbitrarily, and of course this member of the legislature is aware of his main task and makes this provision of business a non-mainstream issue.
Okay, I'm from the pro team understand very well your statement regarding the existence of law governing the office of legislature. Indeed, the rule was made to regulate and bind the office and authority of members of legislature. But it still doesn't work effectively, even very ineffective, because there are still many legislatures utilizing his position to benefit himself, his company, and those closest to him or as professional. This is one of the causes of the emergence of the desire for corruption. Examples of the number of legislators who abuse their office: 1. Corruption of Maluku Road Project, a form of abuse of authority of members of the DPR or legislature. 2. KPK called the mass corruption that ensured members of the North Sumatra DPRD in the period 2009 till 2014 as a form of abuse of legislative authority. Number 3. Setia Novanto, a former legislative, was charged with abuse of authority in EKTP corruption. That's one example of the large number of legislators who abuse authority in which they are involved in other business or profession. So, the rules they are made allowing legislature to engage in other business or profession are ineffective.
Well, here I tell you based on the data you mentioned above. The abuse and abuse of authority is of course based on the money. This member of the legislature commit such abuse of authority for property. It is not that the salary of a member of the DPR-RI legislature is only 4,200,000 per month. I think this is still insufficient to support basic needs or other needs borne by the legislator. Of course, later if you mention the pros of the prohibition of this, it will have an impact with more and more members of the legislature who commit corruption for money to support the needs of their families or their lives. And this is where We think that the members should be allowed to carry out a profession or other business as a set income without involving his position as a member of the legislature. Thank you.
Okay, Protein does not agree with your opinion that the abuse of the authority of legislature is based on the salary of each member of the legislature, which is only the amount is only the basic salary per month, not to mention benefits, travel costs, home costs, car installment costs, and other if can reach hundreds of millions of rupiah. So legislators don't have to think about the cost of living and facilities because they are all funded by the state. So lawmakers no longer needs to be involved in businesses or other professions and just focus on working on people's aspiration and making policies benefit their people. So I from Protein conclude that I strongly agree if legislators are prohibited from engaging in other businesses or other profession. Thank you.